Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today, we will be, it'll just be you and I having a good time talking about the news of the day, the news of the weekend. So many things to talk about and so little time. But we're going to do our best to kind of cover it all and hit it all. So I hope you folks sit back and enjoy and encourage your friends to tune in. Let them know you can watch us wherever you watch your videos, whether it's on Rumble, whether it's on Facebook, Spotify, OpsLens, wherever you want, YouTube, wherever you watch your videos. Also, you can see us on Twitter. You can watch us on the Twitter files. That's right. Or they can just listen to the program, once again, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, let's, before we get going, though, today, let's go ahead and get into the, what we usually do, which is, hitting up and letting folks know about our sponsors. That's right. First of all, we have Hitman Industries. If you own a relatively new AR, when you bought one in the last few years, chances are you already have one of their barrels, but why not get another one? I mean, if you've got an older AR and you want to do a rebuild, or maybe you just want to do a build from scratch, they have both rifle and pistol length barrels available for whatever it is that you want to do. And coming soon, Glock barrels. That's right. You're going to want to check them out. Go to hitmanindustries.net. That's hitmanindustries.net and get the best barrels that money can buy. Secondly, you want to look to the California Republican Assembly, otherwise known as the conscience of the Republican Party. That's right. Ronald Reagan said that. Check them out at CRA.org. CRAGOP.org. That's CRAGOP.org. If you want to become a part of California's future today, become a member of CRA. And then if you're looking for a holster, can't recommend any place better than Hog Holsters. Just find them at hogholsters.com. That's right, helping America wear guns. And you can get a discount. All you got to do is use the discount code, The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Use that discount code and get your Hog Holster today. And then finally, if you're looking for outdoor gear, tactical gear, hiking gear, hunting gear, whatever you're looking for to kind of for your outdoor use, make sure you check out uscombatgear.com. Quality products, great prices, fast shipping, excellent customer service. Check out veteran-owned and operated uscombatgear.com. All right. Now, as we get into today's stories, we're going to start with this first story here, and this has to do with it's more of a report on the mainstream media. Now, you and I both know that outlets, conservative outlets or alternative outlets, have been talking a lot about Hunter Biden and basically the quote unquote, I'll call them the Biden crime family. We have been following for quite some time now the money that has been changing hands. Basically, where you had Hunter Biden basically acting as a bag man for his family, going around to various different foreign countries and entities in foreign nations, and picking up cash for his family. I can't think of any other way to really put it, but basically going around picking up cash for whatever reason, or basically we'll just say selling influence to the Biden family. Well, let's just say that there was a tweet that was released, or information that was released last week. Not a tweet, but it was a text message from Hunter Biden where he was messaging a business partner, someone who he was working with, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to call it. But he basically threatened them, like right there. He was in the president's home, and by the way, there's evidence that the president was at the very least present at the home. Not so much that he was present when this was taking place, but he's basically saying, look, we got this deal going on, and you better take care of this, or I'm sitting right here with with my dad, and with you know who, and you better get this taken care of, otherwise it's going to go real bad for you. Well, last week, let's put it this way. The presidential press secretary, KJP, or Karine Jean-Pierre, was questioned. And the interesting thing was, it wasn't Fox News that was doing the questioning, although Newsmax did kind of take the lead. But what was really great about this was all of a sudden you had folks from a ton of other media outlets were asking some very serious questions about what was going on with these text messages, these tweets, and more questioning the White House and their previous statements on it. Check out check out check out the feeding frenzy that took place in the White House press room.
Secondly, the president invited his son Hunter to the state dinner last night. I'm wondering if you could take us into the thinking and decision making of why the president decided to invite.
I'm just not going to get into family discussion, personal family discussion. As you know, Hunter is his son. I'm just not going to get into it.
Let me ask you this. If Hunter Biden wasn't the president's son, would he have invited someone who had just reached a plea agreement with federal prosecutors?
Well, a couple of things. Again, that's his son. He's a family member. It is not uncommon for family members to attend events at the White House. You could look at past presidents. I'm sure you have. So that is not uncommon. As it relates to anything related to Hunter, I'm just not going to respond to it from here.
Can I follow up on that?
Okay. No, I just called in somebody. Go ahead.
So Kirby wouldn't answer James's question, though. Are you going to answer the question? It's not an unreasonable question to ask, whether the President of the United States was involved, as this message seems to suggest, in some sort of a coercive conversation for business dealings by his son. Is that something, if he wasn't, then maybe you should tell us.
So here's the thing, and I appreciate the question. I believe my colleague at the White House Counsel has answered this question already, has dealt with this, has made it very clear. I just don't have anything to share outside of what my colleagues have shared, and so I would refer you to him and the DOJ. Just not going to comment from here.
Text message.
What I can tell you is I know that my colleague has dealt with this. He addressed this at the White House Counsel. I just don't have anything else to share. I just answered the question. I just answered the question.
No, you didn't. Yes or no, was the president involved in the shakedown?
Stephen, I just answered the question. It's not up to you how I answer the question. I just answered the question by telling you my colleagues at the White House Counsel has dealt with this, and I would refer you to them. Go ahead.
Can you just remind us what your colleague said from the White House Counsel, so we have it?
I would refer you to them, and they will share their statement in front of you.
Your statements from that podium. You've stated that the president stands by his comment from the 2020 campaign that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with his son. And you stood at that podium and you reaffirmed that. Do you stand by your reaffirmation?
What I will say is nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. And I will leave it there. Anything else, I will refer you to the White House Counsel.
This is not a change?
I just answered the question. You just asked me, does my statement change? I just told you nothing has changed. That's answering the question. Go ahead, Stephen. I'm calling on your colleague right now. Go ahead.
Thank you. To follow up on my colleague, is there anything that you can say with regard to this text message and what the president's son was alleging? Was the president there or not?
I would refer you to my colleagues at the White House Counsel. They have addressed this, and I refer you to them. Go ahead.
Karine, have you spoken to the president about this? Have you asked him whether he was there?
All right, so let's be clear. Here's what's happening. The question went away from, the Bidens and everything. It actually got to the point where she stood up there and she told misinformation. One, she said that she reaffirmed, and the president had stated numerous times, he never spoke to his son Hunter about his business, right? That was the statement, right? Now all of a sudden, and by the way, when she talked about the White House Counsel had put nothing out, had said nothing. So when she said the White House Counsel had already addressed it, she was incorrect. Or at the very least, that's at the very least. At the very most, she was lying. She was trying to not get caught up. Now, later, afterwards, they did release a statement that said, we have repeatedly said that the president was not in business with his son. Wait a minute. That's a little bit of a different statement, isn't it? I mean, that's a little different, right? That's not like saying, before it was, I've never talked to my son, I've never talked to Hunter about his business. But now it's, the president's never been in business with his son. Well, now, what does that mean, never been in business? Does that mean that he's never assigned any formal official documents, been a part of a formal partnership with Hunter? Is that all it means? Or does it mean that there's never been money set aside for the big guy, that money that was designated that's actually supposed to go to President Biden? I really do think there's enough. And folks, this is why this is so crazy. This is why this is all so crazy. Because there's been enough information and evidence that is available on that laptop right now. And it's all public knowledge. It's all out there. There's enough information to debunk even that statement, but the media wouldn't look at it. But here was the thing. Here was the thing, folks. You had the entire media, White House media press corps was going after Karine Jean-Pierre because she lied to them, right? It's one thing, I think, for them. I mean, they get it. They're shills for the White House. They're shills for the Democratic Party. I think to a certain degree, many of them get it. But what has happened now is that they have now been made culpable in the White House lies. And yes, these are lies. These are lies that are being revealed. Because all of a sudden now, it's no longer, well, he didn't talk to me about his business. It's, I wasn't in business with my son. Really? Next thing you know what they're going to say? It was nothing illegal. The business venture that I was in with my son there was absolutely nothing illegal about it. That's going to be the next line, because as soon as it's disproven that they were in fact in business together, well, once again, they're going to fall back, retreat, circle the wagons, retreat, circle the wagons. And I can tell you the other reason why I think they're a little more likely to go after him on this is because this may be the way in which the Democratic Party can get Joe Biden out of the race. If the Hunter Biden stuff starts to pick up, right? If it starts to pick up pace and it's looking bad for them, you could very easily see the president say, you know what? I am decided that I am not going to run for re-election because I need to kind of keep an eye on things and try to I got to circle the wagons on this thing and make sure that I got to focus on my family. Now, it could be that, but then again, it may backfire on them because now they may say, the president may say, I have to try even harder to make sure that I get reelected so that I can pardon my son. Anyway, that's all speculation on my part, by the way, just so you know, that last part, all speculation. I'm all guessing, all thinking. But the part about her lying, getting up there and lying in the White House, basically lying for the president, yeah, that ain't no speculation. That's the truth right there. That is what has happened, and that is what is being revealed. And you may very quickly, because keep in mind, this is not just happening in a vacuum. This is also in the context of whistleblowers coming forward and noting that people in the IRS and in the Department of Justice have been slow-walking investigations into Hunter Biden. And not just because he was the president's son, but because those investigations would eventually lead to the president of the United States selling access and potentially selling influence on legislation. Because there are also some very interesting timeline issues regarding phone calls and text messages from Hunter to business interests in other countries and money changing hands among numerous Biden family members, coming into numerous LLCs who's with the names of various Biden family members on them, and then policies coming out in the favor of some of those entities. I'm just saying, it's a coincidence. It's a coinky-dink. And it needs to be looked at. And it's going to be looked at. Mind you, it is going to definitely be looked at. Slowly but surely, the truth is being revealed. All right, next, we're going to move on to nudity Not an accident at family-friendly pride events. Now, this is nothing new. I just want to tell you, if you've ever been to a pride event or events that are featuring pride, whether it's during Pride Month. I remember way back in the day, I went to the Beta Breakers, and there was a gang of nudity that was there. But this year in particular, there has been a particular emphasis by those who are concerned for our children about the sexualization of our children. At the same time, you're seeing a lot of these pride events that are basically being put out there and shared as, they're being shared as family-friendly events, right? They're saying, oh, these are family-friendly events. These are okay. But the problem is that at some of these events, you have naked men on bikes, expose all ages. Seattle Pride Parade. This was basically in Seattle. You've also got instances where, let's just say you've got instances at pride events where you've got men out there naked, right? Naked in the middle of the pride event. Once again, around an all family, all ages thing, right? This is supposed to be all ages. And you think, well, these are just extremists, right? But you know what? The reality is I need you to keep in mind, this was something that I came across as I was doing the research for this study. And it's not an accident, right? This was a page, bostonreview.net, and it's an article. It says, "Keep Pride Nude. Arguments that kink has no place in the post #MeToo Pride may appear to be reasonable, but celebrating public sexuality is an important step toward a future free of racism and homophobia." This is an article that is out there, once again, in the Boston Review. This is from 2021. But I'm sharing this with you. Here, I'll just see this one little quote here. "Whether wearing wedding rings or dog collars, Pride participants are there to celebrate queer love, queer family, queer sex. We parade not to humiliate others, but to dignify ourselves." Once again, folks, I'm sharing this with you because I need you to understand that a lot of the opposition, the increase in the opposition to a lot of this stuff has nothing to do, or little to do, let's say little to do, with LGBTQ, with protecting people, protecting people's rights, right? It has to do with people who have decided to sexualize our children and sexualize public places, right? We've talked about the books that are in our schools, ones that include things like minors having sex in them, right? Including oral copulation. That's what's in these books. And they're trying to force these books into our public school libraries, right? And seriously, I know some of you are thinking, man, Craig, you're just being approved. No, I'm telling you, this is what they want. If this is what you want in your public school library, you go right ahead. I don't want them in my public school library. I don't want them in the library in my public schools. I don't want all ages events, things listed as all ages events that feature naked men riding bicycles. That's not an all ages event. I'm sorry, but that is not. Events where you have naked men in assless chaps getting whipped by another man in the back of a truck, that is not an all ages event. All right? That is not child appropriate. And I really do think that the people who are organizing these events really need to decide, look, you need to figure out, because I don't know if this is the mainstream of that movement, but I don't see, and that leads me to our next story. I don't see anybody questioning it. I really don't. I mean, I want you to think about this. Have you seen any Democrats, one Democrat, step up and say, this ain't right? I mean, I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the fact that are there, if you are a Democrat, have you seen one article where, or one member of the intelligentsia, the Democratic Party, the DNC, the DCCC, step up and say, you know what? This is not right. We should not be exposing children to nudity and to, for lack of a better term, sexual content or sexual perversions. And I'm not saying everything LGBTQ is a sexual perversion, in general, but yeah. Anyway, but people should not be exposed to this. Our children should not be exposed to this. Where's Warnock? Where's the pastor? That pastor, that senator from Georgia? Why is he not saying a word? He's got nothing to say. He's got absolutely nothing to say. Nothing to say. Here it says, Washington State Democrats who were in attendance at the Seattle Pride Parade have remained silent on whether they condone the nude cyclists whose participation in the public parade sparked intense backlash online. Seattle Pride's parade over the weekend sparked backlash over the inclusion of a fleet of nude male bicyclists whose genitalia was on full display to attendees, including families and children. Now, I don't know what sort of family-friendly events you guys go to. Family-friendly events does not include grown men twerking in assless chaps. That just, not my family events, put it that way. Not my all family or family-friendly events. And I would venture to say that is probably the case for most parents. For most of you out there, for most, even those not watching, I'm pretty sure that if I went into the average black church, which probably tends to lean more Democrat, that they have an issue with calling something family friendly that includes once again nudity and sexual displays. But the Democratic Party's got nothing to say. They have absolutely nothing to say. And the reason why they have nothing to say goes back to my first point. And that is because them doing this is not an accident. It is not an accident. It's not a coincidence. I honestly believe that if the folks who are pushing this are the extremists, if they are the extremists, well, then the mainstream isn't saying anything about it. The mainstream is saying absolutely nothing about it. And by the way, when they do step up and say something about it, when they do attempt to have something to say, well, let's just say that they're not treated the best, right? They're not treated the best at all. In fact, they are often attacked. Oh, you don't believe me. You don't believe me when I tell you that they're attacked. Yes, they are often attacked. And I'll give you a great example. Here was a woman who basically was just frustrated, and she was once again a former activist in the trans community, but she was concerned over the removal of women, like as in the definition, the new definition of lesbian did not include the word women. It was basically non-men who love non-men or sexually attracted to non-men. Right. Well, this was how the community, that tolerant community, reacted to that woman. Yeah, that was totally tolerant, wasn't it? Totally tolerant. Because see, there can be, and understand this, there can be no dissent. That is how it works. Because keep in mind, we never had a vote. There was never a vote that said, by society to say, well, there's more than two genders. There's never been, it was just assumed that that's the way it is by someone. There was never a vote to determine that we are supposed to erase women, right? That women don't really exist. It's basically all a concept of how you relate to men. So if you are a lesbian, you are a non-man attracted to non-men. There was no vote. There was no public discourse. It was, this is now the way that it is. And if you don't believe it, you are a bigot, you are hateful, and deserve to be assaulted. And that's what happens to you. Simply when you are a female, standing up and saying, hey, I'm a woman. Not me, I'm not saying that. But, women have rights and women's rights need to be protected. No, that gets you assaulted because, you're not down with the, once again, the LGBTQ plus, anyway, I don't know what letters they've added recently, so I'll just go with that. But once again, it shut down the opposition. No public discussion, no public debate. And then what they're having a hard time hiding is that all of this stuff is being exposed because we have cameras. We have cell phone cameras too. We have the ability to report too. And it's making it almost impossible, as much as the mainstream media will ignore it. And that's exactly what they're doing, folks, because they're in on the cabal. They're ignoring this culture war. When I talk about culture war, it is about destroying and redefining human sexuality so that they can tear down the family, so that they can tear apart society. That's what their goal is. Although for some folks, they just want to tear down society. They're not interested in rebuilding it or the new whatever comes out of the Phoenix. Anyway, but you guys need to know about stuff like that. Anyway, moving right along. We have a Pennsylvania sheriff who has decided to halt warrantless searches on FFLs. And in Pennsylvania, you had a Pennsylvania sheriff who was instituting basically warrantless searches of gun dealers. Now, mind you, there are few fields that are as highly regulated as it is being an FFL. And they are regulated in some states, like California, at the federal, state, and now even more local governments are getting involved in their regulations. But this Pennsylvania sheriff, let's just read a little bit of the story. It says, it seems that a lawsuit and some publicity still has the power to concentrate the bureaucratic mind. To concentrate. At least they do in the case of Montgomery County Sheriff Sean Kilkenny, who recently adopted an unconstitutionally wide interpretation of Pennsylvania's gun control laws to ensure that Pennsylvania dealers are in compliance with all state and federal laws. Sheriff Kilkenny, who doesn't seem to have a good working knowledge of the Fourth Amendment, decided that a new reading of the state's statutes gives him the right to search all 92 federally licensed gun dealers in his county to ensure that they are following the applicable laws without a warrant. The expansive view of his powers prompted a lawsuit from the Second Amendment Foundation, love those guys, less than a week later. The sheriff has agreed to halt such warrantless searches under a court order until the lawsuit is resolved. Now, folks, here's why this is dangerous. And I need you to understand this because I know some of you out there are law and order conservatives. You believe in law enforcement. You stand behind, you back the blue, and I get that. But understand that there are people who are in high positions, whether it's sheriffs, whether it's police chiefs, whether it's police commissioners, whether it's sometimes law enforcement unions, union leadership, who are people who believe that it is more important for them to keep you safe than it is for you to have your rights, right? In other words, and we talked about that Tulsa sheriff who basically said, yeah, you need to give up some of your rights in order for them to be able to enforce laws. But they honestly believe that this perceived safety, and that's the thing, it's only for a perceived safety, that it is worth it for you to give up your fundamental rights against unreasonable search and seizure. That they should be allowed to violate your rights in the name of keeping you safe. No. And I know some of y'all conservatives want to be like, well, they're law enforcement. They must really mean it. They must really want to keep us safe. In some cases, yeah, they kind of do want to keep us safe, but never, ever give up your rights. Because here's the thing. When you give up your rights, even to a well-meaning group or individuals, guess what? They will not be in control forever. And once you allow, through those policies, your rights to be violated by someone who's well-meaning, what then happens when the person who is not well-meaning comes along? What happens then? Well, that not well-meaning person, that person who actually means you harm, will take advantage. And they will violate your rights in order to further take away your rights and your freedoms. So that's why you do not allow the camel's nose under the tent. Sorry. I know. I've always said this. Freedom can be a little dangerous. Rights can be a little dangerous. But that's why we have them. We have them because they need to be protected. Because what's even more dangerous is allowing those rights to be subverted by those who are in power. Those who are in power in particular who would seek to do us harm. Whose only goal for leadership is not protection. It's seeking to further subvert your rights. Seeking more and more and greater control over you. So, yeah, no, thanks, but no. No, not getting down. Definitely not about to get down with that particular thingy right there. And on that note, we're going to go to our parting shots. Brought to you by Hog Holsters. Make sure to go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, and get your Hog Holster today. All right, let's just say that they're all under the same, all of ours I think all of our memes today are under the kind of the same theme. The first one comes to us from our friends over at the Babylon Bee, where you have our good friend Karine Jean-Pierre throws a smoke bomb and disappears when asked about Hunter Biden's texts. Oh, this is funny. For those of you who are just listening, it's a picture of the White House podium in the White House briefing room with just a little smoke cloud there where Jean-Pierre once stood. Because she was being asked questions about who other than the Biden crime family. And that's right. Here you have the family business. You have Joe, you got Jim, and you got Hunter. It says at the bottom of the family business, it says it's all three of them standing there in their little monogrammed onesies. And it says Biden money laundering service since 2003. Make it big guy clean. Ooh, I think that has something to do with the White House. Big guy, White House, President of the United States. Maybe. Although this is really, quite frankly, I think what they're going for. When you're on the left, this is what usually winds up happening. It says, Meme King says, when you're on the left, just sweep it under the. And now you've got a rug. You've got Merrick Garland, who's holding up the rug with a broom in one hand. And the DOJ, which is, by the way, the broom. And let's see, what's he sweeping up there? He's got a laptop. He's got Parmesan cheese, which clearly Hunter was snorting before he passed out with a joint in his mouth. He's being swept under the rug. And then you got cocaine. I don't know if he was on heroin, but those do look like heroin needles. And a gun, which clearly, as we now know, he was not in a legal position to be able to possess. But it is what it is. There you go, Hunter. All right, well, it's about time to go. But before we do, let's give that shout out to our sponsors. Start off with Hitman Industries. Get your rifle and pistol length barrels today from hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly. Become a part of California's future today. Join CRA. We've got Hog Holsters. Get your Hog Holster at hogholsters.com. Use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. And finally, get your outdoor gear, tactical gear, camping gear, winter gear, summer gear at uscombatgear.com. And with that, we will be calling it a day. We thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you for liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back mañana on Taco Tuesday. Until then, y'all take care. Have a good day.